Hi, and welcome back to the Women's Strength Society show today with the topic why your hard work hasn't built the body you want and what has been actually missing in your journey to finally look like you lived.
Yeah, that's very obvious for us. But for most women out there who wants to get in shape, then the only thing they focus on is to try and lose weight and get that muscle definition. And it was very interesting because yesterday I was drafting some pieces of content for Instagram and doing some research, and turns out that we've on. So I'm going to spoil a bit of what we're going to talk about, right? But we had only 4 women in total since the beginning of Women's Strength Society. 4 women out of thousands who had enough muscle and who came in and were already strong. And 2 of them, they were just strong and had muscle because that was how they were built, and they did not train specifically for that. Like, they had some training experience, but it was not like they had really invested a lot of time in that project. But they were able pretty much from the get-go to bang out a few pull-up. Then another one, she actually did spend like 20 years building her body, and she was actually consistent working out and had already some great results with that. And the third one had just a lack of good genetic, but had also been training for quite a while now. And I did some math, and it turns out that the likelihood of you becoming a millionaire is actually 3 times higher than you having quote unquote too much muscle or enough muscle to be able to see muscle definition just by losing fat and without really investing in building some muscle.
And I had yesterday a conversation on Instagram with the woman who reached out, who was like, hey, I need support to just lose the extra few pound to reveal that muscle definition and to reveal the hard work that I've put in. And I'm training very consistently, like quote unquote, I'm training very consistently, and I have a very good foundation of muscle mass. And for me, that's immediately like, yeah, let's see. I don't want to, make assumptions, because there are definitely women who, as you said, come in and have enough muscle mass to just drop fat and then look tight and defined and lean and like have that look. But in most cases, when you think that you have enough muscle mass underneath, and yes, you have muscle mass underneath. So yes, you're training and there are muscles. So what you're feeling are muscles. But there is a difference in having muscle mass and really having enough volume in muscle that it actually shows when you are leaning out. So there is a big difference there. And I also thought I had enough muscle, or at least that this is not my problem, because I just need to lose body fat and then I will look defined. But once I did, I saw how little muscle mass was left, especially in my lower body. And that's something that we see over and over again, which makes or breaks your physique. Like, especially as a woman, if you are training hard and you are maybe building a little bit of muscle mass in your lower body, but you're actually not training properly your lower body and spending enough time to add mass there, then when you're leaning out, you will have some definition maybe in your shoulders, but the rest will be a little bit like soft, and you will just feel like, not much has changed. And so, yeah, I could go on because I had another call this week. I wanted to also...
And it was pretty much the same topic, right?
It was pretty much the same topic. And so that was a woman, she reached out and she said, hey, she was actually giving me her stats, like the height and the weight. And I was like, if she's not looking at that height for her, at that weight for her height defined, then she definitely doesn't have a body fat problem so much, but a muscle mass problem. So the muscle mass is lacking, and that's why she's missing the definition. But she was feeling uncomfortable in her body and she wanted to drop fat. But she also said that actually she never properly fueled her body, and she was doing 8 years ago a fat loss plan, like a meal plan, being in a calorie deficit, eating 1,400, 1,500 calories, never did the reverse diet, continued after the plan, just eating that way, right? Maintaining her weight, but eating that way, eating 1,500 calories, under eating from Monday to Friday, slightly overeating on the weekends, then leveling out and somehow ending up at maintenance. And she said she looks soft and she doesn't like that because she's working hard in the gym, but she's not getting the results. She's not looking tight and toned and defined and lean and shredded and like all those words. And I was very honest with her, and mapped her out that even if we are doing a fat loss phase now, which we will probably do, but not to create the shape, the look that she is actually looking for, but just to set her up for a very, very long building phase, because this is what she needs to create the look. And, rather than telling her, hey, work 4 months with us and you will look like you lift and you will have that muscle definition you're dreaming of for the last 10 years. I was already painting her the picture of, you will do a fat loss phase now. You will do a very long, at least 1 year building phase to add some muscle mass. And a year is not even like so much. You could even do like 2 years. And then you will do another fat loss phase to like reveal the muscle definition that you're actually after. And it's something that we have seen with the women we have successfully coached through multiple years, that those ladies who are willing to step into that hard work, the actual hard work, because right now you are thinking that you are working hard, but the actual hard work is what you are avoiding by not growing and not building muscle and not dedicating yourself to that process with the same dedication as doing a fat loss phase, for example. I don't know what I wanted to say. I lost
the train of thought.
I lost my train of thought, my thread.
That's fine. I think, the hard work topic is, it ties back to what we were saying in the previous episodes about body recomp. And so if you haven't checked them out, then please do that, because it's going to give you a bit more context about why we are saying what we are saying. And essentially, nowadays you hear a lot of try to do the body recomp thing, where you simply lift heavy, eat high protein, stay in a mild deficit, keep the carbs fairly low, and this is going to help you transform your body, lose body fat, create muscle definition. And so this is something that already takes hard work. It's not easy to do because most of our society is not really set up for that. Like the vast majority of people do not go 3-4 times per week to the gym, so it takes effort to do that. Most people don't focus on hitting the protein target. Most people certainly do not try to be in a mild calorie deficit. And now the carbs, keeping the carbs low in the fitness and wellness space is something that's pretty widespread. It's like a plague. But for most people who are not in that bubble, then they are certainly not paying attention to that and definitely eating their carbs. Most of the time it's going to be fairly processed carbs with quite a lot of fat and a bit of added salt. And so being able to resist that and trying to make sensible food choices, it is going to take some work. But what we see is very often exactly what you described, is you do that from Monday to Friday, but then comes the weekend where there's maybe a bit more social life happening. Friday happy hour or whatever it may be, birthday on the weekend. And then it's difficult when you've spent like Monday to Friday really putting some effort into that, paying attention to your nutrition intake, and you've been doing that for years on end because the only thing that you focus on is trying to lose the body fat, lose the last 5 pounds, 5 to 10 pounds, or trying to recomp, without seeing a big changes on the scale, and hoping that your body fat is going to transform into muscle, because this is the language that is used very often. When you hear about body recomp, it's like, yeah, you want to not really pay attention to your body weight, but you want to pay attention to your body fat percentage. And then you understand, like, okay, if I change my body fat percentage, then it means that I have more muscle and less body fat, which is going to lead to more muscle definition. And if I can change that body fat percentage regardless of the weight, then I'm going to look different, which is somewhat true. But the problem with that is most women underestimate how much body fat they need to lose in order to see muscle definition, but much more importantly, they wildly overestimate how much muscle they have. And what we mean by that is not just the muscle, like the whole muscle per se, but it's really the contractile tissue. And this is what's kind of confusing for a lot of women, is the muscle is not just contractile tissue. You also have intramuscular fat in there. You have a lot of glycogen. You have some water, some protein that is stored like between the muscle fibers. And if you want, it's like a bag, and that bag is going to contain quite a lot of stuff. And when you go through a fat loss phase, then a lot of that stuff is going to go away. It's almost like you're, like draining a sponge, Something is going to come out because your muscles, since you are not eating the calories that you need in order to fill it up again and sustain your body weight, then your body is going to use the reserves that are stored inside your muscle. And it means that the muscle was at the beginning of the fat loss phase, it had that kind of cross section, but then at the end it had that kind of cross section. So maybe it's only half of it. You haven't lost your contractile tissue. You still have like the same amount of muscle fiber if you've done a great job of lifting weight and eating your protein and managing stress, which is also very important. But yeah, the muscle is just going to get smaller. And this is something that women just like wildly underestimate. That's one part of it. And then the other part of it is also like how strong you need to get to actually be able to put on some muscle, and how much volume you need to do. Volume, not just in like one session of doing 10 exercises, of doing like German volume training 10 by 10 for that one particular session or even 1 week, but cumulative volume over years of consistent training. Because the amount of work that your muscle are going to perform over, say, 5 years, even if the training is not optimal, then it's going to be way, 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 way more than the amount of volume that you can do acutely in like, say, 1 week or even 1 month. And so this is also something that is misunderstood. And women think like, hey, I've been doing my workouts, I've been consistent, and so I should have quite a lot of muscle. Partly true, but very often what we see is that instead of applying progressive overload, like the workouts have been the same over and over and over and over again, and it doesn't create a stimulus that's going to help build more muscle mass. And it helps certainly retain the muscle that you've created, but it's not something that really created new muscle mass. And in order to do that, going through a proper building phase is going to make a huge difference, like a huge difference. And this is literally like one of the most important pieces of the puzzle. And it's literally the one piece of the puzzle that most women actually avoid. And this is what you were referring to. They are doing a lot of hard work, but they do that to avoid the actual hard work.
Yeah, exactly. So it might feel for you like it's hard work, right? Because but I would like to like reframe the hard work, because what you are doing is actually not that hard anymore for you. You have done it now for months on end, years on end. You know how to play that game of eating less, being in a calorie deficit, eating high protein, going to the gym. The gym is not even the problem. You love training. So the nutrition is like freaking you out, and you are like constantly second guessing if you should cut or eat more, or the weight is creeping up, then eat less again. And like this back and forth, it's like running through your head constantly, and it's freaking you out. And that's not the hard work. It's more so the constant work that you are doing without getting the results that you are looking for, which is just frustrating work. It's the work that you are putting in without getting the results. It's a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of headspace spent doing kind of the stuff that everyone tells you to do, or what you have read or listened on podcasts on, but it's not yielding to the physique that you're looking for. And so the actual hard work is the stuff that you are avoiding, as Yannick just said. It's the stuff that you don't know yet about. It's the things that you have never done before. It's the stuff that is uncomfortable. It's not knowing if you will just gain weight and become fluffy going into a building phase. You are not sure how to go through a proper like building phase to make sure you are reliably building muscle mass and not just turning into how are they called, a Michelin Michelin man, because that's definitely not how you want to look like. You also don't know how long to run a building phase, how during a building phase you can guarantee that what you are putting in is actually leading to the muscle growth that you're looking for. Because yes, it's a little bit of a tricky phase. You don't see immediately the results. It takes a very long time. The scale weight is going to go up because you're just eating more and getting stronger and building some new tissue. You're adding new tissue to your body. So that's the hard work. That's the stuff that you are avoiding right now. And that's what you need to like break through and embrace to be able to create the look long term, to actually look like you lived. And going back to the women that I had on the call who was like eager to get started with one-on-one coaching with us, I could see her face when I told her that yes, we can, do a little bit of fat loss, but what you actually need is a long building phase. Yeah. This is what you need. And she was like, I thought about this before I jumped on the call, and I already thought about, you will tell me this. So it's not even that you don't know that you need it. It's that you're avoiding it because it's so uncomfortable for you, and you know that it's going to be hard and not easy. But you need to make that step. If you're not making that step, and we can't make that step for you, right? We can only guide you there and help you to like shift from being constantly in the hamster wheel of trying to eat more, but then cutting the foods back again immediately when the scale is going up. We can help you like get out of that hamster wheel. But you need to be willing to be like, okay, let's jump. I'm ready to take the leap. I'm ready to say yes and do it, even though it feels scary and I don't know what's waiting on the other side. That's the thing that is so important. And the women who win this body transformation game and look like they lived, they have gone through that. They have had that moment of, okay, let's fucking go. I had that too, and all the women that we have successfully coached through building phases and through really achieving that I look like I lived look with muscle definition, not just looking like a Pilates princess with long and lean muscles, they have all gone through that process, through that shift of understanding that what they have done up until now was like the frustrating work, the work in the hamster wheel, and they're now willing to put the hard work in.
Yeah. And this is something that comes back to your identity, actually, because I was already thinking about, okay, what are we going to say next? And I had already a few things in mind. You know, one thing you like to talk about is spending one summer where you're not like bikini ready.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, this is a great point, but it's actually a bit more like belief shifting and that sort of things, which is somewhat helpful. But what's truly helpful is actually aligning your identity and your goals and then your action. And so if you want to do that, then what you want to have in mind and the identity that you want to craft or to create or align yourself with is the identity of the person who's okay to do uncomfortable things in order to create the body that's going to long term, regardless of next summer, regardless of the holiday, that is going to be the most like fulfilling, powerful looking, lean looking, and so forth and so on.
I think for me, like going through that summer building and not cutting is definitely also an identity thing. It's not only, for me, it's not only about the action of doing it and building through a summer and skipping one summer, like leaning out. It has a lot to do with the identity of being the woman who resists the urge of what will other people think? How will I feel? Is it a little bit like uncomfortable to have a little bit more, body fat around the belly or the legs or whatever?
And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Because when we say like, hey, you want to be fine going through one summer not looking your best in order to have, the summer after looking your best. And so what it might sound like, or how you as the listener might interpret that as like, okay, I'm going to give up one summer, but then it means that all summer after that are going to be great and I'm going to look my best. And this is exactly like not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is having that identity of, regardless of the context, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of what people around you might be saying,
regardless of the season,
of November, September, whatever, because we also have clients in Australia and New Zealand, and like we are talking about going into summer, but for them right now it's winter.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's really like, regardless of what's happening around you, having the identity of, I'm going to do the right thing in order to create the body that's going to look great long term. And it doesn't mean like trust blindly the process, because this is also not what we're about. It's really about doing like the right next move in order to get you closer to the body that you want. And the reality is, for most women, going through a fat loss phase, as you were saying before, going through a fat loss phase that's going to make room for a long building phase is actually what's going to move the needle forward, with the long building phase being like the key part of the journey, because this is exactly what's missing in most cases. And you are going to be able to do that only if you have that kind of identity shift where you say like, hey, I am the person who does the maybe somewhat uncomfortable thing, but regardless of what's going to happen in the next few months, even in the next year, then I'm still going to do that, because I know that this is what's required for me to achieve the body that I want to create.
And I think you need to find some fun in doing that, right? Instead of you need to, when I'm saying you need to embrace it, then how I did it, I was like, labeling my summer already as the thick girl summer, stuff like that. So I was really playing into that, and I was not making fun out of it, but I was seeing it with a little like smile, because for me that was like, yeah, that's what the woman does who knows her shit. That's what the woman does who will, me in that case, create even more jaw-dropping results the year after, and then people will be like, oh, how did she do that? And then I can say, yeah, you know what, I spent like 15 months twice, which means I definitely skipped a couple of summers to create that shape. It was not just because I did a crazy like photo shoot prep and cut my calories down to 1,200 that I was able to look like I look in my bikini photo shoot pictures. It's because I put in those 2 building phases before that to actually create that look. Not only in terms of like muscle mass so that I can have the definition, but also like pulling off a fat loss phase like this where I really got shredded, because you can't do that if you have already depleted yourself for the last couple of years. Like it's not gonna happen. And so I think having like really embracing like your own seasons and playing a little bit around with that, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, what will others say, or I feel uncomfortable, like making yourself smaller and giving in and listening too much to what other people say. No, you need to like show up. And even though you are maybe not that confident yet in what you're doing, you need to pretend like you are that confident in like what you're doing. It's like what Rihanna is always saying, fake it until you make it. She loves to say that. And so I think it's very true. And sometimes you can trick yourself into believing that you are that confident in like what you're doing, going through that. Because when I did my first building phase, going through summer and being thicker, it's not that I was like, yeah, let's fucking go, I love this, the shorts are again tighter, and maybe I cannot fit into all the stuff that I bought last summer when I was like lean and defined and did my first ever photo shoot prep. But I was learning how I can work with that, right? So I had to play a little bit around with that, embrace it, and pretend more than it was true in that moment that I'm cool and fine with that. Even though it was not obviously not true, because it was for the first time that I leaned out and I wore like shorts, and I felt confident doing that. And then of course, having again more body fat on my legs, I was not feeling like super comfortable with it, but I was still wearing the shorts just to like show off as the, hey, I'm going through thick girl summer. And so I'm not hiding anymore. I'm embracing what I have created, and I will like push forward, and do that kind of stuff for that season that I'm currently in, instead of paying too much attention to what's happening around me.
Yeah, keep the goal the goal.
Keep
right?
the goal the goal.
Because if you say you want to see the muscle definition, if you want to look like you lift, then this is kind of your North Star. And it means that a fair bit of your journey is going to be focused around the lifting part, because without it, then you're not going to be able to see the muscle definition, and you're certainly not going to look like you lift, right? So if this is what you say you want and you genuinely want that, then yeah, focusing on the lifting is going to be very important. And it also means that your fueling strategy, the nutrition, should be set up to support that. And this is something, again, that we just see like so often. The only focus is on trying to lose body fat, trying to eat less. And then like, I cannot tell you how many women we have come to us and feel like, energy is low and sweet cravings are high and progress in the gym is slow, and then
And feeling depleted and feeling overwhelmed, like all those things they don't even think about, like that are related to maybe the fueling.
not having as much like mental resilience.
Yeah.
100% is going to be a symptom of just like chronically under fueling. And it's unfortunate because then you put yourself in a position where you're not really able to make any kind of meaningful progress, yet at the same time you're still like quote unquote doing the hard but frustrating work. And so it's really about like doing the work that's going to get you closer to the looking like you lift, and that requires the lifting part and the appropriate fueling strategy. So I think we've said pretty much everything we needed to say in that episode.
Embrace your thick girl summer.
Yeah.
For example, if you have okay, we are like last thing for today.
Okay.
It's already June.
Yeah.
So it's basically summer. If you have missed the mark of, going through like getting ready for summer, which actually starts in January, if you want to do a proper like fat loss phase, to be done with it before summer so that you can be at maintenance then in summer and then enjoy your lean body. If you have missed that mark because you didn't think ahead like of time and you didn't had a long-term strategy that we were talking about in the last couple of episodes, that you really need to transform your body, not just drop a little bit of body fat, then you might as well just skip this summer leaning out and put already the work in that you need long term. And what I mean by that is not just saying like, oh, I will start after summer, because that's also a very, very typical thing to say, right? The ladies who are thinking like short term and quick fix, they will not start in summer, during summer, with the actual like work of like the long term, implementing a long-term strategy and going through the right phases, because they're like, oh no, I'm, it's summer holidays, I'm on a trip, I don't know how I can train, and I cannot track my food, that's why I will not start, so I will start after summer. Then after summer, you're like, okay, summer is over, I don't have to wear a bikini anymore, the bikini is in the wardrobe. You're picking again up the hoodie and whatever you are wearing to cover up the little fluff that you have gained during the summer holidays, because you went all in on the ice cream and the pizza in Italy. And then it's getting colder. And then you are like, oh, it's like, Thanksgiving for the US ladies, or it's getting closer to like Christmas. The holidays are there, so you're still not starting. And then comes January and you're like, okay, I need to start now, but you still don't have a strategy. And if you don't have the strategy ready by then it will happen exactly what happened to the lady who, by the way, that I had on the call for the one-on-one coaching, enrolled with us, even though she will be in Sicily, in Italy, in a couple of weeks, but she's still enrolled now so that we can get her started. Because she did that in last like January, she decided to do a fat loss phase and be done by summer, because she had done that before. She had lost some weight, although she always looked soft in the end. But she only lost like 2 kilos since January until June.
And this is something that happens because you were depleted going into that fat loss phase in January, because you hadn't set yourself up for success for a fat loss phase, going through at the very least a proper maintenance phase, or even a slight build throughout summer and throughout fall.
And so if you want to look different next year, same time, you got to start now. Like it is as it is.
Yeah, we are almost already behind schedule. So
yeah, like
the
really,
time is now.
The time is now. I have ladies, like the ladies who are working with us long term. We have some who are signing up for like until 2028. Like they're planning ahead, like things that are coming up. And of course, you never know how life will turn out and what will happen specifically. But there are probably like certain events or a specific like year that you're celebrating something. Maybe you want to become pregnant, maybe you want to marry, maybe you're getting engaged, maybe you're turning like 40 or 50 or whatever. You need to put the time in before so that you can like shine bright like a diamond on those big days, and not think like 4 weeks before the event or the special occasion or whatever it is, like, oh, let's cut the calories and let's drop a little bit of body fat, because that's not who you are. That's not what you want. You want to have and create the look like I lift look, like physique, and maintain that for life, right? You want to build that and look better and better and better year after year, instead of being trapped in the hamster wheel. So boom.
Or like Cardi B would say, better and betterer.
Better and betterer. Bring it on, better and betterer. Some Cardi B tunes. That's it for today. If you liked the episode, please leave a like. Follow us for more. And yeah, until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.